despite there being no pregnant people in the pictures for advertising, there's a very happy woman who's definitely been photoshopped to be holding one of these. Yeah, running between areas of shade. Now, I remember the Chinese people when I was in Vietnam, they had it sorted out. They like had figured out how to avoid the heat, whereas us in the UK, we're always like, no, we're trying to find it, we're trying to find it. So I took a little bit of inspiration from them so you don't die of it. Well, maybe not die, but you know, get severely sick. I was hoping I'd come up with something a bit more funky there, but you know, it didn't happen. Hello! As a very hot person, yes, I just called myself hot, I have always struggled to go to hot countries. I just seem to I'm like a radiator, like I create so much heat just by existing that when I move, it's like... So I have struggled with the heat problem going abroad, especially in Asian countries. It's so fucking hot there, I can't cope. So I've created a little podcast guide on how I'm going to be maintaining my cool whilst I'm travelling, because I'll be, at the time that this goes out, probably still in Indonesia, maybe in the Philippines, who knows. So I'm going to be taking a few things with me, and I wanted to explain those. Now, I've looked into multiple different things, and some of them seem better than others. And one of my favourite things I've got up on the screen at the moment is, you know, a lot of these Amazon products, they aren't made, they're like they're like photoshopped like things put together. They're a bit ratchet, and often the spelling and the grammar, the English grammar, is horrendous. So that's probably one of my favourite things that I've got up on the screen right now. So yeah, I thought I'll talk you through it later, don't worry, we're not going to miss out on that. So probably one of the hottest places I've ever been to was a place in Vietnam, and it was called Hoi An. And it was basically, I don't remember why we stopped there, but they've got this like temple thing. A lot of Vietnam has temples, a lot of Asia has temples. They're very nice, but they are in, you know, they're in like a outdoor space. I was going to say field, but I wouldn't really call it a field. They're outdoors. There's minimal shade because some of the roofs have fallen down. It's blastingly hot. Like, if you think it's hot there, I'm not really sure how the sun can be so hot. Like, I just don't comprehend that. I'm like, that feels as if I would die if I were there. Imagine if you went closer to the sun. So yeah, it was like 40 something degrees. I'd like to report that I've still got a cough. Although I have taken some codeine. I don't know if I had a cough last time actually. I've taken some codeine which suppresses your cough, but it also makes you really quite tired. So hopefully I don't fall asleep. Anyway, yeah, I remember being in Hoi An and literally running between, which probably didn't make my heat any better, but running between shade, which doesn't help that much when you're in a sort of humid hot country. And I guess that's one thing to talk about, is you may or may not know about dry heat versus wet heat is what I've called it. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but basically places like maybe the Mediterranean or the sort of Sahara Desert and places like that, they've got a very dry heat. So when you're in the shade, you're basically not hot. Like, you could, you know, you're still a bit hot, but you're in the shade and you're fine. The heat is mainly from the sun that's hitting you. Whereas when it's a wet heat, the heat in the air, like the air is so humid that it's just hot in itself. Like the air is hot, so it's like a humidity heat, and therefore you end up getting so much hotter, which is why I think personally places like Asia and like, you know, jungles, like tropical places, they are just so much hotter. Now bear in mind, when I went to Asia last time, I was a powerlifter, weightlifter. I had a lot more muscle on me, and muscle produces a lot of heat. Now the issue is, if you're about to go to Asia in a couple of weeks and you're quite muscly, it's going to be quite hard to just lose all of that. The other thing is, you know, whilst I had all the muscle as well, which was generating all this heat, I also had a little bit of fat on me as well, so that kept it all in. And on top of that, I also had, I would say when I was younger, I wasn't particularly, I was quite volatile, like not in like a dangerous way. God, I'm getting this like horrible croaky voice now. I don't know if that's going to get any better, I'm afraid. I would get really like worked up by things, basically. I would be like irritated a lot by stuff. I would always be like just a bit annoyed. And as a result, that would make me, like the heat, how annoyed I got about the heat would therefore make me more hot. So hopefully I'm taking a lot less baggage in terms of muscle, maybe a bit more fat. We'll take that, but you know, a little bit less like irritability and anger with the world. So hopefully that improves things. Now, I feel like this might be like a boring physics lesson, but like the way we disperse heat is kind of interesting, right? So I'll go through it so briefly, you won't even notice it happened. Radiation is basically where you give off heat, you know, like a radiator. It basically gives off heat and then you feel the heat from the radiator. Convection is basically if you have therefore like an airflow around the radiator, which the air gets hot and then circulates warm air, and that is convection heat. But it can also work in water, which is why if you're in like cold water, you get this like layer of cold water, warm water around you from where it's like the radiation. And then, but then if the water starts moving, that's when you get this like new refresh of cold water, which is why you then get more cold. And evaporation, actually no, sorry, that's a method of cooling. And conduction, sorry, is where like you're holding like a pan that's metal and the heat heats up the metal and then it comes along the handle of the pan and then it's hot. Now this is kind of important to know because radiation heat comes from radiators, but like let's say we're in a hot country, right? You're not gonna have things like the sun. So if you can get out the sun and into the shade, obviously that's the most common way that we know to get rid of heat, okay, to get cooler. The other ways are I always like spread my body out. So the more sort of convection you have, as in airflow around your body, especially in common, like really hot places, so your groin, your neck, your head, and your armpits, they're all like, they've all got a lot of blood vessels going through them, really close to the skin, so they can give off a lot of heat. If you want to cool somebody down quickly or warm somebody up, you know, why we put our hands in our armpits, or, you know, we would put ice packs there, or like put something cooling around your neck. So what I do is I end up like spreading myself out. You know, when you want to warm up, you put yourself closer together, don't you? Like a little baby, I don't know. And the other thing is, I guess, conduction. So putting yourself on cool surfaces. So a lot of places in those kind of countries, they have really cool surfaces, as in like they're often made of like ceramic or marble. Here we've got carpet because we're like, no, we need the heat. Where's it gonna go? It's gonna like, you know, disappear. And if we have like tiled floors, that's, you know, we can lose a lot of heat through our feet. That's why I wear slippers everywhere. That is honestly a game changer. Wearing slippers around the house in the UK, like basically my feet were getting so cold and then my whole body was just getting cold. So those are ways, and also increasing your body surface area also allows evaporation to take place more. Now, how does that relate to the real world? There are a few products that I have that I'm really sorry if my voice is like horrendous. I'm not having a good time with my throat, and actually I think because I haven't like spoken much today, I hadn't really realised that my voice sounded like shit, so I'm very sorry, but we're powering through. So yeah, running between areas of shade. Now, I remember the Chinese people when I was in Vietnam, they had it sorted out. They like had figured out how to avoid the heat, whereas us in the UK, we're always like, no, we're trying to find it, we're trying to find it. So I took a little bit of inspiration from them, I'm not gonna lie. One of the ways was they always had an umbrella. They carry, you know, when you're like visiting temples in the middle of nowhere and there's no bloody shade because it's midday and the temples have no roofs on because they're like ruins, and so you're like trying to, you know, lean against the walls. They just had an umbrella. They were like, we've got it sorted. They walked around with an umbrella, permanent source of shade. Now, a way of doing that but like being significantly less cool, which is how I do it, is I wear one of those, like, I guess like wide brim hats is what you would call it. It's basically like, you know, when you see Australian people or with the corks on them, or like a sheriff or a cowboy or something, like one of those hats where it's like wide all the way around. Not only is it hands-free, perfect, it's got a little tie on the bottom so it doesn't fly off. My favourite bit is that it's hands, to be quite honest. Also protects your ears so you don't get like sunburn on your ears, and also it's just all around sexy. Like, who doesn't look sexy in one of those? Come on. So I kind of feel like an umbrella would be a little bit of a burden, like, you know, putting it up, and then if it's windy it's like, and then I would probably lose it. At least if it's a hat, it's on my head and I'm probably not going to lose it. Also, this my friend actually got for me because she knew I was a hot person, and she kind of got it as a joke, but it was also like super useful. It was one of these cooling towels. Now I've actually got it up on Amazon at the moment. It's not the same one, but this one's only £7, which is pretty cheap. There's fucking loads of colours you can choose from, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 17 colours. I'm a bit upset there's not like 18. I've got a pink one, and basically it's like a mesh, lightweight like mesh towel thing. What you do is you put it in water, which is usually cold. Cold water, you like squeeze out the water, and then you shake it out as well, just to try and get all the dripping water off, otherwise you will be soaking. And then you put it like around your neck, and you can wear it as like a bandana, you can wear it as like a scarf, you can wear it as like a hood. And what I do is I like put it over my head and then just fling it over my shoulders, and then it basically, the wetness of it is, I guess, like a kind of conduction heat loss for you. You basically transfer your heat into the water, and water is really quite difficult, not difficult, but like it takes a lot of energy to heat it up. So heat and being hot and cold is basically a transfer of energy. It's like a weird way to think about it, but it's actually like the scientific and correct way to think about it. It's basically, you get cooler because you transfer your heat energy, because heat is energy, into the water, basically, and that makes you cooler. I don't know how it works. That's the physics. I never liked physics because it was like kind of confusing for me, and this is a prime example of the confusion. Like, it makes sense, but it also kind of doesn't, because, like, I don't know. We're not taught to like think of heat as an energy, if you get what I mean. So anyway, I got this, and this one actually on Amazon has got really good reviews. 4.5 out of 5 with 5,300 reviews and 17 colours. I'm not like an advocate for it, as in this particular one. This is one that I noted because I was looking on Amazon for cooling vests. They've all got very minimal reviews. That's because this is £7. Oh, actually the pink one is £8. How naughty. This one is £6, £7, £8. And the cooling vests, let's have a look, are anywhere from £30 to £122. Actually, no. And I feel like you can just make your clothes wet. Like, this is literally just a vest that you put in water. Like, this one is $13.99. It's got 3 reviews, 4.7. And it looks awful. It looks like a dinner lady's, like, overall. Anyway, what I was going to laugh at was the terrible English on this, which was, where is it? Summer cooling, comma. Where's it gone? Bring a piece of refreshing. Sports and fitness essentials. The worst bit is the very confusing use of commas and capital letters, as well as the grammar. So it's summer with a capital C, S, and then cooling with a capital C, and then a comma, and then bring with a capital B. Like, there's just random capital letters everywhere. And then sports and fitness essentials, comma, no space, capital R, reducing the heat of exercise. And then suddenly full stops get brought into the mix. Physical cooling, bring down a fever. Physical cooling, bring down a fever. So yeah, I mean, the last one actually does kind of make sense, but again, lacks a space. Scald and cold compress, comma, no space. Avoid sustained damage to the skin, full stop. Use it anywhere. Easy to carry. Lovely. Oh, and then it's multifunctional without an L. Love it. I mean, somebody needs to go through this and go, instant cooling towel with hyper evaporate breathable mesh material, keeping you cooling. Sorry, it's actually keep you cooling. Yeah, please, somebody, maybe I should message them and be like, look, you need somebody to sort your grammar out on this advert. It's horrendous. Ice towel for neck, soft breathable chilly towel, microfiber cool towel for yoga and more activity. Anyway, that's enough of me taking the piss out of people's grammar. I used to be like super cray with that, but now now I'm just like, whatever. I'm gonna have to go through and take all of these fucking coughs out. It's gonna be annoying as hell, but better than leaving them in, that's for sure. Ooh, so what am I gonna get? I've actually already in my Amazon basket, I buy too much stuff off Amazon because it's easy. I've done my research, a handheld fan. It's pink, my favourite colour. It's got 3 wind speed options. First speed is 8 hours, third speed is 2.5. And yeah, and basically this is what the Chinese people were, you know, they were repping the umbrellas. They also had handheld fans. They didn't go nowhere without a fan. So I'm thinking maybe I get a handheld fan. Maybe I'll get one of those ones that people wear around their neck that I'm kind of like, ew, like I wouldn't want to be seen dead with one of those. But also people obviously have them for a reason. They work. Handheld, again, I love handheld stuff. I basically, like, having your hands free, I'm not an octopus, so having your hands free is super important, you know? Because you need to like pay for shit and then you're like putting shit down, and that's when I lose stuff, especially abroad. People just go, whoop, pick it up. And so yeah, although you can hang this one around your neck, but not whilst you're using it, it looks like. Crikey. So frequently brought together. This handheld fan, I'm discovering lots of things on Amazon today. A post-birth perineal wash bottle, which basically washes your vagina or bum hole. And then nipple cream. So obviously lots of pregnant or just, you know, having given birth pregnant people, post-pregnant people, use these despite there being no pregnant people in the pictures for advertising. There's a very happy woman who's definitely been photoshopped to be holding one of these. The other thing with Amazon things is they're all photoshopped and it bothers me. I get it, it's cheaper, but it's so obvious. And now that you know, now that I've told you that, if you hadn't noticed it, it's all you're going to see. There's a child wearing it, again, she's been photoshopped with it. There's somebody on, I don't know, Zoom or some kind of FaceTime thing. She's got one next to her, but she's also, it's been photoshopped in. Anyway, I'm going to get one of those, despite the Photoshop, and that is $16.99. Drinking water, super important, right? So I'm thinking I get a life straw. I don't know if you've heard of one of these. Basically, it's a straw that in theory, I'm pretty sure in practice as well, but I'm still a bit scared. In theory, you can put it into any water and drink it. I know it doesn't get rid of like flavours, so if it's like, you know, I probably wouldn't suck up things like vomit or sick, or vomit and sick are the same thing, Dawn. vomit or diarrhea, because you'll have a nasty surprise, because it'll still taste bad, but it does get rid of the pathogens like, you know, parasites, bacteria, viruses, and dirt, I suppose. It's basically got these little tubes in it, and it filters out the bad shit so you don't die of it. Well, maybe not die, but, you know, get severely sick. So I'm thinking maybe I get one of those, although I'm a bit terrified, because I've never actually used one before and it will be a new experience for me. I'm also thinking, you know, now that I'm on Wegovy, actually my metabolism has kind of slowed down, I'm pretty sure. So that's why I'm sick, and also that's why I'm less hot. I'm more cold, I've definitely noticed that. So eating less is like, I suppose if you're going abroad and you're not on Wegovy like me, then it might be prudent to think about eating smaller meals, like more often, rather than like big meals, which will boost your metabolism up short term. I'm so fucking done with this cough, I swear. It'll boost your metabolism and make you like really hot. Like I remember after I ate, I would be like this ball of fire. I'd be like, and just giving off so much heat. And then it would kind of settle down. I've just noticed that the pink fan is double the price of the white fan and the black fan. Why? Is pink, supply and demand, Dawn, supply and demand, come on. This one's got a phone holder. Kind of weird. Okay, Dawn, nobody came here to listen to you talk about Amazon products for an hour, half an hour. So yeah, I'm going to get a fan. I'm not going to get one of those fucking wafty ones. We're in the modern age, guys. Rechargeable fan. Don't get one with batteries, because if you run out of batteries, or they die, or you lose them, or they get water damage or whatever, well, maybe that would be the case if it were not batteries, but, you know, or they fall out or whatever, then you're a bit fucked. So I always get rechargeable stuff. Donzos. But yeah, not one of these, because as soon as you like want to relax, you can't, because you need the fan again, unless you're paying someone to fan you, in which case you go ahead. Now, a common reason that people have pools in hot countries is because going into a body of water is obviously going to cool you down. I remember when I lived in Greece and we didn't have I don't know, was the aircon broken or something like that? Or I don't know, like we didn't want to pay for it because you had to pay extra. So we, basically in the middle of the night, I would get up and I would go and have a shower, like a really cold shower, and then I would get into bed with a wet towel on me. And for the nights that the aircon wasn't there and the fan wasn't there, because we went and got a fan and that was game changing, that was great, you know? Not perfect, but still pretty good. And also, yeah, just going in the pool every so often. So you could do that with the bath, I suppose. Like, it's a really nice way to cool people off, especially if you're working as like an expedition doctor, which I'm assuming you're not, but put people in cold water. Well, not, you know, freezing cold, but if they're, you know, overheating, then go into like a pool or something. Wet towels, we've already talked about those. I think the important things to think about, and this is sort of, also, yeah, where you're staying. Make sure you get somewhere with a fan, at least at a bare fucking minimum, or air conditioning. Most hot places have air conditioning. Like, it's a bare necessity. Like, I can't go to Thailand and not have air conditioning. Or a fan. A fan is fine. It's not ideal, but it's like better than stewing in stagnant hot air, like honestly. So dehydration is probably one of your biggest concerns, as well as things like heat stroke or heat exhaustion. Things, you know, obviously to avoid. Heat exhaustion is, wait, which one's the worst one? There's one that's really bad. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke. Heat stroke is a bad one, but I'm trying to think, is that the right word? Oh my god, I can't remember. Heat stroke. Okay, fine. No, what I was thinking was some people call it other names, and I was thinking like sunstroke, and I was thinking if I got the right names. So sunstroke is the bad one, stroke is bad. Basically, heat exhaustion is where you get like overheated and you get like tired, you can get vomiting, etc. And then let's have a look on here actually. Yeah, you feel like faint or dizzy, you sweat loads, and you basically feel like shit. Like, That's the summary of it. Whereas heat stroke, you get a really bad really bad headache. You stop sweating. Why? I don't know, probably because you're dying. You generally get confused. You know, you're like significantly more unwell. The main concerning difference is the confusion or seizures or loss of consciousness. So if you get any of those, you need to go to hospital. But heat exhaustion, you can pretty much recover from. You get like muscle cramps, like I said, lots of sweating, faint or dizzy. You might get a bit of a headache, but not like severe. And you can generally manage it at home. I've had heat exhaustion before. I was wearing black clothes on a very hot day, and it's more common for kids to get it because they can't regulate their temperature very well. But yeah, you just have to go somewhere cool and cool down. Salt depletion. So basically when you sweat, you give off obviously loads of water, but to go with it so that you don't become... So basically your body doesn't want to just sweat water, because otherwise your blood will become really salty, and that's not good. So it gives off salt as well. Now that's why sometimes when I'm in really hot countries, I actually have physical salt on me, like actual salt crystals. Like I could become my own salt franchise. Like I could just get it in like a little bottle and sell it, or I could use it on my own like food. Ew. Can you imagine using my own sweat salt on my food? I mean, it's recycling, isn't it? It's recycling. And, you know, it's good for the environment. It's probably got bacteria in it, though. I probably wouldn't recommend that. Although, I don't think bacteria can live in salt. I don't know. You know, because it's, like, too salty for them. By the way, none of what I've said recently, like, is probably actually useful. Because I'm just chatting shit now. But no, basically the thing about the sweating was true. So what people end up doing is they end up drinking loads of water to compensate, because they think, okay, I've sweated loads, so I need to drink more water. No, my friends. Unless you're having like a nice big salty meal, which is fine, you know, if you do that, you need to have rehydration salt with you. Now, you don't necessarily need to get the expensive shit, you know, like Diorolite or whatever, or Lucozade Sport. Although it's, you know, tastier and probably a bit more balanced. Sometimes what I do is I literally just have a bit more salt on my food, or I drink salty water, which, by the way, tastes really bad. Make it yourself, just put like a bit of salt in some water and drink it. You know, don't put a lot in, I'm going to pre-warn you, it tastes horrendous. And you don't want to be like drinking it from the sea, no. Make your own from sterile water. So what can end up happening is people replace their fluid loss with just water, and then they end up getting like dizzy. This is what I get. I get like dizzy, and I get like, you just feel like lethargic, and that's because your body needs those salts. So anyway, your kidneys are super clever. Like, they know shit, and they will not give up the salts. They'll be like, nah, I'm keeping them in. So it will make you like pee more or less depending on, you know, whether you need more or less salt. Very clever. Very, very clever. I think the kidneys are like super fucking cool organ. Kidneys and the brain like are my two favourite organs. And I know this is going to sound really weird, but I kind of like the feeling of organs. Not that I touch them very often. In fact, I touch them almost never. You know, obviously I go into surgery and stuff. I have seen autopsies. But like, you can't beat the feeling of a cute little kidney. And I tell you what, lungs, oh baby, they're kind of cool too. They're like sponges, but they're organs. But they're not as cool as kidneys, and they're not as cool as the brain. Nothing is as cool as the brain, because the fact that the brain can make me speak to say that the brain is cool is actually mind-blowing, to be quite honest. Anyway, on that very odd note, I think I better go. I've got another episode to record because I'm doing these ones in advance, guys. Look at me go. So that I can keep the content coming whilst I'm away. I want it to just do its thing in the background. I don't want to have to worry about it. I don't want to have to worry about you. I want to know that you're okay. And I'm gonna, you know, just leave them. They're like scheduled to upload on their own. It's like fucking magic, to be quite honest. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And my next one is on, I might do keeping hot. I might do trying to keep warm in cold climates. I've got lots of equipment. Basically, I've done a lot of traveling to a lot of different places. I've done expeditions where you go to extreme environments. You know, that's kind of the point. You push yourself, right? So you're in like boiling fucking hot Sahara Desert. Although it wasn't that hot, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it definitely could have been hotter. I was like fine, but also probably because I was well prepared. But when I've been to cold countries or like on top of mountains which are fucking freezing. So yeah, I mean, I was a bit you can never be over prepared because you just, you know, well, you can, but like it's not as dangerous as being underprepared, which is severely concerning. So, you know, I'm always over prepared. I'm going traveling to Asia, literally not even anywhere like concerning or remote, or, you know, I'm not in charge of anybody. I'm in charge of myself. So, you know, it doesn't really matter if it goes that wrong. I'm not in charge of like other humans. So, but I'm still going to be super organised. And it's like a doctor thing, you know, we want everything. We're like, you know, we'll get a fan and we'll get a first aid kit and we're just prepared, because a prepared person is the best kind of person. I was hoping I'd come up with something a bit more funky there, but you know, it didn't happen. Right. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, follow, whatever the situation is. If you didn't know, if you're just listening on the podcast, I do actually have a video that comes out on my YouTube channel at Dawn Barlow. You can have a look at me, and I just waved at you. And you can follow along there. I've also now got my RSS feed, which is basically when I upload onto my podcasting platform, it goes straight to my YouTube channel, and they are now released audio only about a month in advance of the videos. So if you didn't know that I had both going on, then what are you doing? Come on, sort it out. And now you know. So you can, you know, if you want to listen on the go, the best thing about podcasts is that you don't have to watch it, but people do watch the videos, you know, so I'm like, fine, we'll keep it going. Anyway, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Give it a 5-star review, like, subscribe, share to people, and, you know, have a good time in life, and see you soon. I upload every Monday and Thursday.